And another convenient thing about Kasai is it's actually also affordable and comfortable, relatively speaking, within Tokyo. Because if you go towards like Shinjuku or Harajuku or Shibuya or Ikebukuro, like these kind of places, you're looking at pretty pricey places versus Kasai, which is in the border of Tokyo. Like literally, it is the border. One station over, you're not in Tokyo anymore, you're in Chiba. And generally speaking, with Tokyo, is when you're on the bordering cities or towns, they tend to be cheaper for hotels, restaurants, even housing. So if you want to get an apartment, it's generally cheaper.
Excuse me, Masen.
Welcome to another episode of the Excuse Me Masen podcast. I'm your host, Saul, and joining me today is you. And today we're going to be talking about what makes Kasai Tokyo my favorite place in Japan, at least, especially if you're a foreigner trying to build a life here or just looking for a solid base camp while visiting in Japan. Yeah, so first of all, Kasai is actually a really convenient place. There's a bus terminal right outside the station, and you can get a direct Disney resort bus to Tokyo Disneyland. That bus also goes to Disney Sea, and that one's called the Shuttle 7. It's run by this company called Kasei Bus, and we're going to be talking about Kasei a little bit later too. Just for your information, the route that the shuttle bus takes, or the Shuttle 7 bus takes, is it starts from Koiwa Station, and then it goes to Ichinoa Station, and then it moves on to Kasai, Kasai Rinkai Koen, Tokyo Disneyland, and then Tokyo Disney Sea. So there's not that many stops that it goes through to get to Disneyland. So it's actually pretty fast. The first bus starts pretty much from 6:15 out of Kasai Station. So not out of Koyo, the starting station, but out of Kasai Station. And this bus can be super packed if you're going during the evening rush hour. In that case, there's actually multiple buses that come. So, I mean, you can get on one, but I would definitely recommend that you don't do that because it is crazy packed. Like in the same way that, you know, how they have those train pushers, right? They push people in early in the morning and in the afternoon during both rush hours. If you've ever been on that, you know that it's definitely uncomfortable, especially, I mean, if you have gropers. I haven't heard any stories from people. I don't have any stories of that. So, yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen to you. But if it has, you definitely don't want to be riding on the bus during that time. And since we're talking about buses, you can also take the airport limousine bus to Haneda. And you can also take another bus called the Keisei bus to both Haneda and Narita airports. With that said, if you're going to get to Narita airport through the Keisei bus, it comes around every 4 hours and it takes about an hour to get there because Narita obviously is not in Tokyo. It's pretty far. And the ticket cost is 1,600 yen for adults and 800 yen for kids. This one also goes to all three terminals. You could actually get your tickets through the Keisei website. And right outside the bus stop there, or right next to the bus stop, there's actually a ticketing machine where you can get your ticket. But just a note, you have to get your ticket for that day. The last time I tried to buy it for like the next day, and the guy told me, "Oh yeah, there's no option to do that." I don't know if they've changed it since then because it's been a while since I bought it through that machine. I always buy it online, especially these days because there's a lot more tourists coming in these days. Yeah, you have that option if you're there that day. I mean, you could go in, for example, if you're going to go in the evening, you could go in the morning, get your ticket, chill going around Kasai station. There's a lot of restaurants. There's um, a mall that's pretty nearby. You could take a bus that goes there, and it's only like what, like 15 minutes to get there. Um, there's a Don Quixote nearby. There's a bunch of stuff. Yeah, these buses, they allow you to have up to two pieces of checked luggage. So if you have those big ones, they'll put that under the bus. And then you can also have one carry on with you. Just be aware that the leg space is really small. So likely you won't be able to put your carry on in front of you. You'll have to put it on your lap. So just be aware of that in case you plan to have a roller carry on with you. It's pretty uncomfortable. Yeah. And another thing that I wanted to also note is that when you take the bus to Narita, every once in a while, the bus gets pulled over for inspection of the people, the passengers. So they might come in and ask you to show your ID. That has happened to me a couple of times, and it does take quite a bit of time. It can take between 45 minutes to an hour and 10 to 20 minutes, depending on whether they stop you or not. and also depending on the traffic. So if the traffic is pretty bad, it's going to take a long time. Another good thing about Kasai is you have easy access to Tokyo Station. So if you get on the Tozai line at Kasai Station, there actually is only one train that you can take. And it's only like an 18-minute ride to what's known as Otemachi Station, which is it's like a station that's adjoining Tokyo Station. So you could actually walk from Otemachi Station to Tokyo Station between 5 to 10 minutes, depending on if you get lost or not, because it is huge. I'm telling you, man. If you go to Tokyo Station, if you haven't been, it's almost like being in an underground city. It is huge. And there's all kinds of like shops and restaurants and stuff. So if you're ever like in the mood to get lost, put your phone in your pocket and just wander around and you're going to have a good time. Yeah. So as I said, the Tozai train going from Kasai to Tokyo, it's direct, no transfers. And another good thing is you don't have to get tripped up by the rapid train or the regular train. There's only the regular train versus if you go to some stations. I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you don't read the text that's moving on the thing that shows which train is coming next, you may get on a rapid train that may skip the station that you actually want to go to. So definitely recommend Kasai for that little convenience as well. So many times I've got tripped up and ended up on the rapid train and had to go all the way, like 3 or 4 stations away, get on the opposite train, go back, and then end up passing the station again, and then turn around and go back. And then I had to actually ask the person at the counter, what time is the one that's not the rapid coming? Because before, when I first came to Japan, the rapid sign was all in kanji. It didn't say rapid on it. It was just like this red text that would like stream across that little LED that's on the side of the train. And I couldn't read it. And sometimes, even though it was red, it wasn't the rapid. And yeah, it was pretty confusing. Nowadays, I think they have it flashing in English as well on the monitors at the platform. So hopefully you don't have that problem that I did all those years ago. But yeah, so the train frequency from Kasai heading towards Tokyo is actually every 2 to 4 minutes during peak hours, and it's 5 to 7 minutes during off peak hours. So it is often. So you don't really have to worry about anything. It's 210 yen from Kasai to Otemachi, and you're looking at about 25 minutes door to door. So when you get into the station versus when you actually hit Tokyo Station, you're looking about 25 minutes. And another convenient thing about Kasai is it's actually also affordable and comfortable, relatively speaking, within Tokyo. Because if you go towards like Shinjuku or Harajuku or Shibuya or Ikebukuro, like these kind of places, you're looking at pretty pricey places versus Kasai, which is in the border of Tokyo. Like literally, it is the border. One station over, you're not in Tokyo anymore. You're in Chiba. And generally speaking, with Tokyo, is when you're on the bordering cities or towns, they tend to be cheaper for hotels, restaurants, even housing. So if you want to get an apartment, it's generally cheaper. And then speaking of Kasai specifically, there are 2 hotels that my parents often take when they come here. It's 2 hotels, but it's actually owned by one company. And they are called the Hotel Il Fiore Kasai and the Hotel Il Fiore Kasai Annex. And both of these hotels are about a 3 minute walk from Kasai Station. So really close. One of them, the annex itself is along the highway. I don't know if that's going to be an issue for anyone. Maybe the worst you'll get is when a fire truck or an ambulance comes by, you might be able to hear it very slightly, depending on what floor you're staying at. I haven't asked my parents about this, but yeah, the other one, the main building, the Hotel Il Fiore, is that one's a little bit hidden. It's not along the highway. But the main building or the main hotel, the Hotel Il Fiore, that one has a restaurant, which actually doesn't count as a restaurant, I would say, because it kind of feels like a cafeteria. There's no staff in there, there's no waiter. You just go in and then they got the food on the counter. And it's not all times of the day. It's only when it's mealtime. They'll have food on the counter. But when it's not mealtime, there's nothing there, just vending machines. So it almost feels like a staff cafeteria in a yeah, like a staff lunchroom. You can also get a massage, and of course they have a front desk. The annex one, the other one, that one feels more like a overflow kind of hotel. When the main building is full, they pretty much send everybody to that other one. When I checked online, I saw pictures that there actually is a cafeteria there now, or they call it a restaurant, but let's just say it's a cafeteria because you can't buy anything. But the pictures show that there is a restaurant and you can get a massage, but the front desk is actually very minimal. I don't even know if you can check in there because when I checked online, they said you would check in at the main building and then go and stay at the annex building, which makes no sense, right? They should just have a counter at the annex building. And they do. When my parents visited last time, they ended up staying there and they checked in at the main building not because they had to, but because they made a mistake and ended up at the main building because they always stay there. And then they just told my parents, "Hey, since you're here, let's just check you in here, and then you can go to the other hotel." They didn't tell us that that was the only option. But yeah, when we went to the annex hotel, I don't remember seeing staff behind the counter. I think there was a counter, and at that time there wasn't anybody there. But yeah, the main hotel actually has wider room selection, so you actually have the single, double, twin, and family, and so on. But the annex only has the semi double, the triple, and the family. And then the main building also has a 24-hour front desk. I don't know if the annex does that too, but the main building also has laundry services. So you could get that too. And then, of course, like I said, these places are relatively affordable. So you can get rooms for around 70 to $80 US per night. So it's pretty good. You can get it even cheaper during the low seasons. And I don't know if it goes any higher than that. But one of the bonuses of going to the annex is that it is fairly newly renovated. I remember when they were doing construction on it during COVID. And then another good thing about Kasai actually is that it's a very foreigner friendly place. You know, these days when you check online, you see so many articles about some stupid person did something in this place and now they don't really allow foreigners there, or some person did something stupid in this place and now there's signs that say we don't allow this type of person to come here. I mean, I remember seeing that article online where there was like this restaurant, I think it was in Shin Okubo, which is known as Koreatown. And they're like, we do not accept customers from China or something like that. I forgot what country it was from, but yeah, it can get pretty bad to the point where these places turn out like blatantly racist. But Kasai does not have that problem. The neighborhood here actually has a reputation of being welcoming to foreigners, especially since Nishi Kasai, one station over, they have this, it's actually known as like Little India because they have like the largest concentration or the largest Indian community in Japan, as far as I've seen online. But yeah, Kasai has a pretty diverse population. You have people from India, Nepal, China, Vietnam. I see them every single day. They're not causing any kind of issues for the Japanese people living in this area. And then also because it has that reputation of having so many or having being a pretty diverse place, the Japanese people actually know that already. So when they decide to move here, they're aware of that mentally. So these are the people that are more accepting towards foreigners. And that includes, of course, tourists as well. Yeah, so the locals are really used to seeing foreigners every day here on the train, in the park, in the grocery stores, wherever. Yeah, in Kasai, you don't really get that stared at or feel out of place kind of feeling the way you might in other areas of Tokyo or even in the rural areas, because obviously they don't come into contact with foreigners as often as people in the city do. Yeah, one thing I should note though is that a lot of shops and the restaurants in this area, especially the ones that are not chain restaurants, they don't have English menus. But if you at least try to use your Japanese, they'll treat you really nicely. So, you know, at least put in some effort and it'll pay off. And it's weird, you know, when I told my friend that I was living in Kasai, my Japanese friend, he goes, "Oh, Kasai is actually known as a pretty dangerous place." And I had already been living here for 10 years at the time. So I was just like, according to who? Because I've never seen any kind of like murders in this area. I think the worst thing I see is like, and I haven't seen this in a few years already, but I used to see every year at Kasai Station at midnight on New Year's Eve, I would see drunk people getting into fights. And it's usually like two versus five or like one versus three or four, and it's usually the smaller group's fault. So like one or two guys will get really drunk and belligerent and then start bullying larger groups. And then they'll end up going outside, and that one guy thinks he can take all five of them, and then they'll get into a fight. And what will end up happening is the one of the people from the larger group would be pinning the other person down, and then the cops would come and break them up. I don't know what the result is, obviously, because I don't go nearby, but I am able to see it from where I live, and sometimes it's pretty funny. But yeah, other than that, it is a pretty calm and safe place, especially if you plan to live here. And another good point about living in Kasai actually is landlords in this area are more likely to rent to foreigners. There are real estate agents who specialize in helping non Japanese tenants. I happen to know one guy that works for a company that does that. So if you do happen to plan to live in Japan and you want to live in Tokyo and you're okay with living in Kasai after the stuff that I'm about to say or have already said so far, hit me up and I'll connect you. But yeah, with that said, another good thing about Kasai is the nature and the leisure. So Kasai is actually really close to this place called Kasai Rinkai Park, and that is Tokyo's second largest public park. And it's like a real and honest escape from the hustle and the bustle of the city, because when you go there, it's just like trees everywhere. You're walking around. It's one of the few places you can go in Tokyo where you could be alone and hear like birds and insects making all kinds of noises. If you were to walk from Kasai Station there, it'll take you maybe like 35 to 40 minutes. But there are buses like the Shuttle 7 bus and the green bus, the regular green buses that you can get on at any time. Those ones actually run through Kasai Rinkai Park. So if you're headed towards Disney and you see Kasai Rinkai Park, you could actually, if you wanted to, reserve one of the days of your vacation to go there, because at this park they also have a sea life park, which is the aquarium there, and they have 600 different species of marine life, and that includes bluefin tuna, the huge ones that everybody wants to eat at when they go to like Sushiro or those kind of places. And it has actually one of Japan's largest penguin habitats. So if you have a family with you, take them with you. I mean, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, just go ahead and check it out. It's pretty cheap. I think it was like $5 or something like that, 5, $6 for adults. I was there last year, and yeah, my kids loved it. We we've been there many times, but yeah, we were there after COVID. That was the first time we visited. There's also a Ferris wheel on the property, and from the Ferris wheel, you can actually see Tokyo Bay, and you can also see Disneyland. And on clear days, you could see Mount Fuji. Just as a quick note, you may or may not know, but there's this like superstition. I don't know if it's all of Japan, but I heard it from a Japanese person. They said there's this superstition where if you as a couple go on a Ferris wheel, you're doomed to break up. Take that however you want. But yeah, I heard that. But anyways, yeah, there's also a bird sanctuary. I heard there's a an observatory, but I've never actually been in it. It was closed down because it was like there was like a lot of damage to it. The last time I tried to check it out, but it might be open now. I don't know. But there is a bird sanctuary, and it's basically like when you get into the park and you head to the left, you're gonna notice very quickly that people aren't headed in that direction mostly, and that's where it is, because it's mostly like just this stone path with stone walls where the observation areas are, and it's kind of like just this window where you can look through, and then you can see this kind of wetland area with reeds running through the water, and then you can see the different kind of birds that commonly go to that area. And you'll see people walking around with like these giant like $20,000 lenses just so they can get the perfect shot. So if you're into birds and you want to check out Japan's birds, go to Kasai Rinkai Park. They have that there, and there's even like there's a walking path, there's a cycling path. If you wanted to go for a jog, let's say you come to stay in Japan, but you want to make sure you get in your jogging every day, you could actually just stay at Kasai, take the bus towards there, or you can even jog all the way there and then jog around the park and jog back if you wanted to. There's even picnic and barbecue areas. Like there's this one place where you can reserve a spot, and they have these like look like teepees that you can rent out. And then you pay for a certain type of course, and they'll just put the meat and vegetables there. They'll prepare them for you, and you just have to cook them and then just leave. There's another barbecue space where if you go to the back of the park, you can go all the way to the ocean, and there's like this small island there that's like beachfront, and then you can reserve a space. You could reserve the space and bring your own food and your own tents and your own everything, or you could do the same thing or similar to what you could with the TP stuff. You could actually reserve, or you could actually order some kind of course, and then they'll put the stuff out there before you arrive. Then when you get there, you just cook, eat, drink, leave, and they'll clean up everything after you. So it's really convenient, especially if you want to try experiencing barbecuing in Japan or in Tokyo. The sand is not white, it happens to be like dark brown. I don't know if that has anything to do with the cleanliness of the water, but it is what it is. Yeah, I take what I can get coming from where I'm from. I mean, we have, the Saipan. They have the clear blue skies, the sky blue water, the white sand, man. It's paradise where we're from. And Kasai Dinkai Park sand is nothing like that. But I mean, it's Tokyo. You can't expect to get that anywhere. So yeah, it's better than nothing, I would say. And then when I decided to come up with this topic to talk about today, this following part is actually the main part that I wanted to talk about. And I thought of this episode idea specifically to support the local businesses that I personally like in the area. So that's what I really want to talk about. And first of all, you've probably heard me say this in previous episodes, but there is a restaurant called Donguri. And Donguri means acorn in Japanese. And this place is a retro style izakaya. You may or may not see online information about it being an okonomiyaki or a monjayaki restaurant, but that information is outdated. They do not do that anymore. I don't know if they still serve it if you ask for it, but they don't have the teppan or that flat cooking surface that they would need to make okonomiyaki or the monjayaki. It's just tables now. But yeah, it's been revamped, and they no longer serve those dishes on their typical menu. Their current menu right now actually is a unique mix of Japanese Western pub fare. For example, you could get like roast beef, you could get anchovy pizza, you could get different kinds of pastas. The way it looks when you walk in, I talked about the paraphernalia that's in the display, but the actual spaces when you walk in, it's like sectioned off little areas, and some of them are like it almost is like a small room with no windows and no door, but there's the cutouts. And then one of those places, like one entire wall or the largest wall is completely covered in velvet or like velour kind of material. Another area is just like white tables with white chairs and like mini chandeliers. Another area is like everything is black. And then another area is just like this closed off table. So there's different kinds of sections. And if you go all the way to the back, there's actually this bar that's full of different kinds of alcohols on the counter or on the shelves behind the bar. Yeah, it's a very comfortable place. I've been there dozens of times. It's my favorite restaurant in Kasai, to be honest with you. And every area kind of feels like its own little corner. So it's like you have your own little space, like your own little private space when you're there. Another thing I like is how the owner is like this quirky dude. He's a really nice guy. But yeah, the menu is really diverse. It's unique, but I think most importantly, it is delicious and it's affordable. So it's also good for people who live in this area. If you happen to come down, like I said, I recommend the chashu chahan, which is the chashu that you would get in your ramen, right? And then chahan meaning fried rice. I also recommend the Korean yukejan spicy Korean noodles. That stuff is really good if you like spicy food. The roast beef is also really good. It's sliced it looks kind of like sliced steak, but yeah, it's really good. If you're a beer drinker like I used to be, they have this thing called the Tokudai Joki Nama beer. Nama meaning draft beer. And then Toku means like, I haven't checked the kanji, but I believe Toku is the Toku for especially, and then Dai meaning big. So especially big mug. It can fit an entire liter, which is what, like a fourth of a gallon. I don't know how many ounces that is, but it is huge. And it is Sapporo beer. And just as a disclaimer, I'm not sponsored. This episode is not sponsored by anyone, but I do want to support Sapporo beer, especially because my father-in-law used to work there. He worked there for 42 years, and I love the flavor of Sapporo beer. So yeah, if you know me personally and you come to Japan and you're thinking of me when you're here, support, get the Sapporo beer. But yeah, moving on to the next restaurant, there's this place that I really like to go to that's actually under the train tracks, and it's called Niku no Murayama. This is the place to go if you want meat. They have steak and hamburger, and that's actually what they specialize in. The portions are pretty generous. You can get up to 400 grams. I don't know if there's any larger, but when I go there, I usually order the 400-gram. They call it Texas steak, but it's not a single steak. It's actually like chopped. And 400 grams, I think, is like in US, maybe somewhere around like 28 bucks. And yeah, just imagine, right? You get on the train, you go to Tokyo, you walk around all day, you come back. It's the end of the day, you're really tired. You want something hearty to have before you go back to your hotel. You can go check Niku no Murayama, have yourself like 400 grams of steak or a hamburger, and you can even order stuff that has like a fried shrimp or whatever, and then you can head back to your hotel and get a good night's sleep before tackling the next day, right? Yeah, you could even get like there's this half and half set that you can get, so you don't have to stick to one. You could actually mix it up, and the average price you're looking around between, let's say, 2,000 to 3,000 yen per person, depending if you drink alcohol or not. It might cost more. But on the 11th and the 29th of each month, the 29th is known as Niku. So ni meaning two and ku meaning nine. So 29, right? Niku also means meat in Japanese. So Niku no Hi means the day of meat or meat day. You could get, they have a special on their menu where it's a lot more affordable. So it's 1,980 yen. And you could get your Texas steak set, which includes rice, soup, and salad. The reason why I wanted to add this to the episode is because I actually know the owner. I don't know him well, but he is a really nice guy. I believe he's from Turkey. If he's there, his English is pretty decent. So you could actually order through him in English. But if he isn't, just be kind and courteous. I've never had a bad experience with the staff. Just do your best, and you can point at stuff. You don't have to be fluent in Japanese, but make an effort. And that leads me to my next place, which is Toriman. This place is a yakitori restaurant slash izakaya, and they're known for the charcoal grilled skewers that they have, and also the counter that they have is pretty cozy. But yeah, it's a great place to relax with like a small group. The restaurant is somewhat small, so you could actually, if you wanted to, you could reserve the whole place. I've seen people do that where I would walk in and be like, "Hey, can I get a table for three?" And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, sorry, the whole restaurant is reserved until 9:30 p.m. or whatever." And then I'd either have to come back later or just not go that day. That place is actually right next to the bus stop for the buses that go to the airports. So yeah, it's pretty easy to find. It's on the second floor. The first floor is actually a Mr. Donut. So like right next to the bus stop, there's a Mr. Donut, and then the stairs that goes over Mr. Donut, you could just get to the restaurant. Yeah, so it's really easy access to the station. So if you happen to be drinking late at night and you want to make sure to make the last train, you could actually go there. Or if you happen to be staying in Kasai, it's near Hotel Il Fiore. You'll probably walk only like 5 minutes to your hotel. So it is really comfortable. And then one thing I forgot to mention about the hotels, if you go to the main one, right outside the front door is actually an Italian restaurant. And the food there is pretty good. I went there with my mom once. They have pizza, they have pasta, they have all kinds of different kinds of cocktails, but it is really good. And then getting back to Toriman, the yakitori skewers, the selection is really wide. Just for example, there's this word in Japan called or in Japanese called sasami, and that means chicken tenders. You can get it with cheese. You can get it with yuzu kosho, which is like this lemony, black peppery, salty flavor. They have it with umeboshi. They have it with mayonnaise. They have it just with simple salt. Yeah, there's a bunch of different kinds of stuff, and you can even get like chicken meatballs. You can even get the momo, which is the thigh meat. My favorite stuff that I get when I'm there is this thing called the buta tomatomaki, which is cherry tomatoes that are wrapped in pork belly, not bacon, but just pork belly, and the buta asparamaki, which is the asparagus that's also been wrapped in pork belly. That stuff is really, really good. You can get it in black pepper or soy sauce flavor. Doesn't matter. They're both delicious. And then some of the special stuff that they have, like you could, if you wanted to, like mess around with your friends and just try something new, they have horse sashimi. So it's called basashi in Japanese. And you can even try this thing called chicken sashimi, which I tried it once there and I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't it tastes like chicken, but I'm just scared because growing up in America, there's all this stigma towards chicken and it not being cooked properly. But yeah, if you wanted to check it out, you could. And it's not like they just do it and don't care about the consequences. They do have a process that meets the standards, but they even have like other stuff. Like, for example, you could get shrimp ahijo, and then you could get different kinds of courses. Another thing that I really like when I get there is they have pancake with ice cream. That one's really good. You could even get this thing that I really like. Shout out to their tori chazuke or their chicken chazuke. Chazuke is basically, it resembles like if they took tea and then they mixed it with Japanese furikake and then they put that on rice and then just poured hot water over it. It kind of tastes like that. But then they jam chicken on top of that and they put this massive chunk of wasabi on top. So this thing is super strong, like that wasabi burn you get in your nose. So you have to be prepared. I mean, if you're not strong, like, because I'm really weak with wasabi, like I have to like breathe a certain way to not embarrass myself basically. But yeah, at that place you're looking at approximately like 3,000 to 4,000 yen per person if you don't drink and you eat a lot. I mean, being from Saipan, you probably know that Saipan people eat a lot. So just think in terms of islander portions. Yeah, they even have an all you can drink course. So it's like 4,000 yen for 6 course and then 5,000 yen for 8 course. They may have changed it. I don't know because they're constantly updating their stuff, especially recently. They reactivated their social media account and it shows them like how they prepare their chicken skewers and stuff like that. But yeah, so shout out to Toriman. You guys are one of my favorite spots in Kasai. They open from 5 to 1 on Monday and Tuesday, 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Last orders at 12. Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, they open from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then Friday and Saturday, they open at 5 p.m. and close at 5 a.m. That one is probably because they want to accommodate people who want to make it to the first train. Donguri also does that, but the owner kind of reads the air, and if it seems like there's no customers that day, he'll just close early. So just be aware, if it's really late at night, there will be a sign on the door if they decide to close early. The guy is nice enough to like post like a handwritten message. But Toriman has irregular holidays, so you might want to call them up. But another note about this place is smoking is allowed. That's pretty common in traditional Japanese izakayas, but yeah, you want to be aware of that. I mean, I invited my mom to come with me there, and then I didn't tell her that smoking was allowed. And we were waiting for our food, and then I told her about it before our food came. There were no customers in there; it was just us two. And already the look on her face was just like, "I don't want to be here anymore. I hate places that accept smoking." So from there, like everything she ate, she just had this like uncomfortable look on her face, and we ended up leaving right away. But yeah, if you absolutely despise smoking, don't go there. A lot of people do smoke in there. It's not one of those places that accept it, but people don't generally do it. It's one of those places where they really take advantage of it. I mean, there's this one time I took my uncle there, and this dude like blew smoke right in my face, and my uncle saw it, and the both of us were debating if we should confront this guy, but we ended up just leaving. But yeah, they also have free Wi-Fi if you want it, and it is wheelchair accessible. I told you about the stairs that lead up there, but there's also an elevator. So if you're on a wheelchair and you want to check this place out, it's good. And that brings me to the next place that I want to talk about. Is this place called Foods and Bar Cerdo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly because Japanese don't have r in their alphabet, but it's a fusion bistro and bar in Kasai. It's pretty close to the station. I would say if you're walking casually, it's probably like 10 minutes. They advertise 5 minutes online, but I've been there a couple times. It's not 5 minutes, it's probably like 10. I really like this place because the owner's really nice and he's very flexible, but this place is really small. They only have 16 seats in this place. I would say it's like 6 people can sit at the counter, and then there are 2 tables that can seat 5 people. So it is really small. It kind of seems more like this guy decided to make it for his friends that live in the area, but then his food is so good that people start going in. It's really good for if you just want to have like a relaxing evening and unwind. I happened to take my wife there a couple times for anniversary and whatever. And yeah, their signature dishes are their thick cut domestic pork steak. They have red wine simmered wagyu motsu. Motsu is like, I guess they call it offal. It's kind of basically just like different kinds of internal organs in a stew or something like that. But yeah, I'm not into that stuff. But anyways, they also have assorted meat appetizers. And for me, like I love everything in there that I've tried that isn't internal organs. But my favorite thing, I love spicy chicken wings. It's the one that they have there. It's really good. My wife thinks the same way. They also have like jalapeno cheese fries. You could get homemade hot dogs. You could get pasta. You could get ramen. And then they have their daily special, which if you follow their Instagram account, which is under the name of their other restaurant, it's called Lumber House. The guy posts videos and pictures of him preparing the special for that day. They also have a extensive selection of craft beers from that area. I have gone to this place with Kato, aka Robin from Nomad Push on YouTube, and Devin, and he actually uploaded a video to YouTube on his old YouTube channel called Sweaty Suzuki. So I'll put a link to that on the blog page. But yeah, the last time I was there before I quit drinking, I had the Iwate craft beer from Iwate, and it was really good. They also have different kinds of cocktails and stuff like that. But you're looking at around maybe 3,000 yen per person or more if you decide to drink. When I went there for my anniversary a couple years ago, it was 10,000 yen flat. And my wife and I both drank not enough to get hammered, but to enjoy our meal and, just take in all the flavors that we can from different places of Japan. And they also have a all you can drink course. They have two actually. They're open from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday, and they're closed on Tuesdays. If you want to follow them on their Lumber House Instagram, the owner does give updates if they decide to close suddenly, whether it's for just that day or for a few days because he's going on vacation. It is a guy that runs it on his own. He's the head chef, and then he has like staff that work with him. He's also very kind. This is why I added him or his establishments. I'm going to talk about the other one next, but his establishments to this list, especially because the food is good. I mean, it's really good. If you wanted to, you could actually reserve the whole place for like a group party or whatever. Smoking is permitted. When I was there the last time, I don't remember anybody smoking and I don't remember smelling smoke. It's possible that they could have a really good ventilation system in there. But yeah, I just don't remember anyone smoking when I was there last time. That brings me to his next place. So he has this other place that's closer to the station. It's right outside, but it's right outside the train tracks. But from the exit of the station, it's probably like a 5 minute walk. But this place is called Lumber House. I went in here, not stumbled. I walked in one time. I really liked how the exterior showed like it's almost as if it's a log cabin, the way the walls are set up. And when you go in, everything is like wood, but it is a sports bar. And he gives the same level of creativity to his dishes there as he does to the foods and bar cerdo. And yeah, he has screens so that you can watch whatever is happening with sports relating to Japan or whether it's local or whatever. The prices that you're looking at probably be around like 3,500 yen per person. That's what, like $28 or something like that. That's if you decide not to drink much. Their specific operating hours are not listed online. I couldn't find it. I'm pretty sure it was on that chalkboard that they have outside. But yeah, you could probably just DM him on his IG and ask him. But as I said, I've only been there once, and that day the vibe was really chill. The place was full, but everyone was just relaxing with their food and drinking and watching TV. A couple people were having a conversation, nice and quiet. And with that said, I want to go on to the next place, which is this place called Nikuemon. So Japanese barbecue, as you probably know, is called yakiniku, and they have so many different companies. Gyukaku is one of the most famous ones in Tokyo, but this place Nikuemon, it's also a chain. But the reason why I'm adding it to this list is because I happen to know the owner of this particular branch, and he also is a really nice guy. But Nikuemon actually has A5 and A4 Wagyu beef, and they also have the same kind of awful stuff that I was telling you about with the foods and bar cerdo. They have the Hakata style motsunabe. But if you're not into that, of course, just don't order it. But the yakiniku is really, really, really good. And it's also, I think the most important factor here is that while it is Wagyu or Japanese beef, it is also affordable Wagyu, relatively speaking. Because if you go into like Shinjuku or Shibuya, Wagyu there is crazy expensive. But here, it isn't that bad. So, for example, You could get the thick cut and the outside skirt cuts. So of course, was that hanger steak, skirt steak? They have those cuts, and then they have the course. You could get the course meal. It's 5,500 yen. You could get the thick cut wagyu, and then three recommended cuts of black wagyu, or known as kuroge wagyu in Japanese. And then they have the 7,700 yen course. They have a wide selection of wines curated by a renowned sommelier from Ginza. I don't know who, but that's the information that I found. And they even have Japanese sake, and you can actually get other drinks too. But yeah, you're looking around between 5,000 to 7,000 yen per person. And then, of course, if you drink, it may go up. Their dinner is from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., and they're closed on Tuesdays. You could get table seating. They also have semi private rooms, they have tatami room with the sunken kotatsu style seating. That's the room that I went the last time I was there. But yeah, I really like the ambience of that area, and I really like the smells of the wagyu. They do accept credit cards, and you can even do QR code payments through PayPay if you have that and you live in Japan. They do have an English menu. It is non-smoking, so there's already enough smoke in there, right, through the barbecue. But yeah, it's a very kid-friendly place. When I was there, the owner kept passing by and asking if we needed anything for the kids. And if they didn't have anything on the menu for the kids, he was actually kind enough to try to accommodate us by asking the kids if they wanted to eat like sausage or something like that. I don't know if they actually have that in the menu, but he brought it out. He was really nice, especially since we have really finicky kids and they don't want to explore basically. But that's it for the restaurants. I do want to mention one of my wife's longtime close and personal friends. He owns this place called Kurumu, and it's a skincare slash cosmetics brand. Their slogan is actually pretty interesting because they actually focus on transparency. And their slogan goes, transparent skincare rooted in tradition. You can actually go to their store. Their store and the manufacturing facility is the same place. And if you wanted to, you could ask them to give you a tour of how they produce their products. Everything is made in Japan. Everything is made from natural ingredients. And the main ingredient that they use is this thing called Montmorillonite clay. I don't know much about cosmetic stuff or skincare stuff. I just use what works for me. They are located pretty close to the station. Pretty close to the Hotel Il Fiore annex, actually. You could walk from there to this place in probably like 5 minutes. Yeah, you could get their products online. You could get their products through pop-up events, and you can actually go to their shop and buy. But yeah, it's a small ethical business. And I think another important thing to note is that they have deep community roots in that they host a lot of different kinds of events where they showcase their products and give you the ability to experience their products. Like for example, they had this one event at Kasai Dinkai Koen, actually, Kasai Dinkai Park last year, I believe it was, because I helped do the cleanup and it was raining the entire time. I was soaking wet. But they set up this inflatable pool in a field, and then they made it like some kind of like a clay bath. And Montmorillonite is white, so it's like a white bath with clay in it. So the people who went to this event, it's like everybody was wearing white. So everybody would go in, and then they would like just like start with their feet, and then I noticed some of the kids would be like practically swimming in the stuff. But it also has a pleasant smell, so it doesn't smell like clay from that you would imagine when you're gonna make like a pot or something like that. It smells kind of different in a good way. But yeah, they have face washes, they have lotions, they have hand creams, and everything is formulated with natural ingredients. They're open from Monday to Friday, 11 to 6. They're closed Saturdays and Sundays and public holidays, but they do accept credit cards. As I said before, their store is located within the same building as their manufacturing facility. So if you wanted to, again, you could ask them to give you a tour. I haven't taken that tour. I didn't know that until I did the research for this episode, but I have been in the building multiple times. And yeah, I didn't realize it, but like I guess their manufacturing facilities on the higher floors. But yeah, I think one of the most important things to note, at least for somebody like me, is that the products are completely made in Japan from natural ingredients. That for me right there makes me want to buy it and give it as a souvenir or even use the product myself. But his company Kuruma actually heads the logistics aspect of the annual event that he and my wife and another one of their friends host here in Kasai, known as Edogawa Rakuichi. I've said that multiple times on this podcast in different episodes. But this event basically is for the people. They try to invite different kinds of unique vendors, whether that be restaurant, like food trucks. And then for the events themselves, they'll have, like, for example, last year they invited one of Japan's top like breakdance teams. Every year they try to get like famous rappers to come down. Last year they tried to invite this guy named Kureva. You may or may not know him. Kreva. He's one of Japan's like most iconic rappers. He's really, really good. And he's actually from Kasai. I don't know if he still lives here, but one thing I wanted to note before I close out this episode is that as of my last visit, with the exception of Nico Emon's menu, none of these businesses are explicitly English friendly. That means no English menus or fluent English speakers. However, the staff are genuinely warm and helpful. So if you try to speak at least a little bit of Japanese, they'll do their best to accommodate you. These are good people, even if they might look scary in some cases. So even if you experience problems, there's never a need to be aggressive with them. So in the event that you should have a problem, just tell them kindly and they'll do their best to sort things out for you right away. A simple smile on your part will go a long way. Trust me. Trust me, bro. But yeah, my question is to you. Where do you stay in Japan? I mean, is it a place that you'd recommend to immigrants or expats? Hit me up. Maybe we can talk about it in a future episode. You can DM me on Instagram or Threads at XQS_podcast, or you can fill out the contact form on my website, www.xqspodcast.com. And with that said, that's it for today's episode. And if you have any questions, comments, or would like us to share anything on the show, let me know. And until next time, excuse me, Masen, and see you.